Welcome to today's class on Dotloop 101. My name is Leah with Scott Leroy Marketing, and in today's class we'll be going over the basics of Dotloop. So if you are a newer agent or just newer to Dotloop and have never really utilized the system or not seen the Dotloop system at all, today's class is for you. We'll be going A through Z through the system so you can start to feel more comfortable with it. Now, where you're going to go to log into your Dotloop account is actually on mykw.kw.com, and you'll see that on the top of my browser here. It's mykw.kw.com, and that is where you'll go to log in for all of your KW tech tools. So basically, once you log into mykw.kw.com, it won't prompt you for further passwords for any of your other accounts like Dotloop, so it's often best to log in this way. So hopefully you know your myKW username and password. I know there's a million passwords for everything, so if you're having trouble remembering what that is, feel free to email support@scottleroymarketing.com and we can help you reset your password or help you figure that out. Now, your username is typically something like your first initial and your last name, and maybe a number at the end if your last name is a little more on the common side. And your password, so your username is not case sensitive, but your password is. So make sure it does require a capital letter and a number and a lowercase letter at that. So go ahead and put in your password. You can click Keep Me Signed In and click Login to go ahead and log into your myKW account right away. And again, as you're trying to learn all these KW tech tools, this is where you'll want to go to start learning all of that and playing around with it. And the best thing to do with learning new technology is playing around with it. You can't really break anything, and we can help you fix it if you do, so feel free to click around. It's a great way to learn how the system works. In today's class, we'll actually be focusing on this top center e-edge control panel box where you'll see myTransactions. Okay. So what you'll want to do is go ahead and click on Start myTransactions, that blue link right under it, and that will take you into your Dotloop account, ideally without further password. So you'll hear and see Dotloop referred to as both Dotloop and myTransactions, not to be confusing, but that is the same thing. So you'll always click on Start myTransactions to access your Dotloop account right away. So when you do that, it should bring you over to your Dotloop account. If it does prompt you to log in, no worries. Go ahead and put in your Dotloop username and password. No problem, it'll connect it up. Now, the first thing that I want you to look at when you're in here, and we will take a look at the different Dotloop home pages today because Dotloop has very recently upgraded all agent accounts to have a slightly different looking home screen. So if yours doesn't quite look like what mine does on my screen, don't be alarmed. I'll catch you up. We'll get to the same place. But what I would like you to pay attention to is we do want to see premium on the top of your screen here. All right, so the premium there indicates that you are connected to your Market Center and that you do have access to all of your Market Center forms and you can make unlimited loops. If you do not see premium on the very top left of your account, feel free to email support@scottleroymarketing.com. They'll go ahead and link you up. Mention that you're in today's class and they should be able to do that right away for you so you can participate in class. Okay, so we do want to see premium on the very top left here. Again, if you don't, just go ahead and email support@scottleroymarketing.com. Let me go ahead and email out our support email address, or chat out, just so you guys all have it. That's support@scottleroymarketing.com. We try and answer emails between 1 and 10 minutes, if not quicker, so we do answer really quickly. If you guys ever have issues, feel free to email us and we're happy to help. All right, so as you're getting into Dotloop, as I mentioned, this is a brand new Dotloop homepage here. I believe they just officially transitioned all agents over early this week, maybe last week. They've been beta testing it. So if your screen does look like mine, great. This is the home screen I'm going to use for today's class, so hold tight for just a moment. If you are seeing a black and red screen instead, let me show you how you can transition over to this new Dotloop homepage. All right, and you'll notice you can always transition back to the old Dotloop by clicking on either your initial or your headshot on the top right of your Dotloop account in a circle there, and you'll see a switch to old Dotloop option. Now, if you're a brand new agent and you are just learning Dotloop for the first time, stay where you are. Okay, it's better to learn the new system anyway. All right, but if you are looking at something like you see on my screen now, this is the old Dotloop home screen that they're working on phasing out. And just so we can all be on the same page for today's class, you can easily switch over to that new white and blue home screen by clicking here. You'll see a slightly darker black bar that says click here for early access to the new improved loops page. So go ahead and click here. As you saw, it was very easy to switch back, so this is not final. Don't be alarmed. So go ahead and click here just so we can switch on over to the new Dotloop. Now, if you have been using Dotloop for a little bit and you're comfortable with that black and red home page that we were just looking at, I know it's frustrating to learn a whole new home screen after you've already learned something, but the good news is actually all the navigation is the same. Things are mostly in the same spot. It's really just the look and coloring that changed, so that's good news. So while we're on this topic, let's go ahead and explore our Dotloop home screen here. And so you can start to learn the navigation. I'm going to start on the very top right of your screen on these icons here on the top right. So first of all, that reporting icon, the first one, and I will point out the noteworthy moments of this class when you'll want to write something down. I do have notes on this class that I can send you guys after class, and yeah, I'll point out the very important things to note. Anyway, so this reporting icon on the top right of your Dotloop home screen, that is for your Dotloop stats, so that'll show you year-to-date sales and any other Dotloop stats that you have for your loops in here. Moving to the right, this is an important icon that you'll utilize quite a bit. This loops icon will always take you back to this Dotloop home screen here. So if you're ever lost in your Dotloop account or just need to quickly get back home, this little icon that looks like a smiley face with no eyes up here, right, that'll always get you back to your Dotloop home screen. Moving to the right, you'll see tasks here. And you do have to-do lists that you can create in each one of your loops, which are awesome to stay on task with what you need to do for each one of your loops for that property. However, this task section on the top right here, that will show you an overarching to-do list for all of your loops put together. Right, so that's an umbrella view there. Moving to the right, we do have a people section. And that people section will show you the contact information for any person that you've put in any of your loops, period. So kind of like your CRM for Dotloop. Moving to the right, another very important one, and we'll be spending more time in this template section here in today's class. This template section is where all of your blank forms sit. So when you go in and if you just need to print out a blank form, if you simply want to print out a form, bring it on your appointment to have that hand signed, you absolutely can. All right, and you can do that from this templates icon on the top right. Looks like two little sheets of paper. And I'll be telling you in today's class, I'll walk you through exactly how to go about doing that. All right, and last but not least, we do see this icon on the top right here. It should be your headshot or your initials in the circle if you do not have a headshot. And so what you want to do is we're actually going to start here. If you'll go ahead and click on that circle on the top right, again, it'll either be your headshot or your initials. Some important things to point out here, your member ID. So if you give Dotloop support a call, and they have very vast hours, and their number is on the bottom of every page in Dotloop, it'll prompt you for your member ID when calling their support line, and because you're a KW Premium member, it'll move you to the very front of the support queue because that you're a part of Keller Williams. So pretty awesome feature, gets us faster support. So you can either jot down where your member ID sits or jot down that number, definitely useful. And now another thing to note on here, if you are an agent that's a part of more than one market center or you're transferring from one market center to another, you may see multiple Dotloop profiles here that you can click on to switch to the loops in your other profile. It's most common to only have one profile, so if you're seeing that, that's totally normal. Oh, and by the way, there's the Dotloop support number as well if you want to jot that down. But first of all, let's go ahead and come up to where it says My Account. And that'll be in blue, and again, I just clicked on either my initials or my headshot on the very top right in a circle, and then select My Account from that drop-down. Okay, so from here, this is the back end of your account. And the cool thing about this backend is it'll populate any information that we put in here. It will populate onto every form that you bring into your Dotloop account. So any, like a listing agreement, for example, that requires your address and phone number and so forth, it'll add that on there for you every time if we add it in this backend. So you don't have to keep typing that in. So it helps you work smarter, not harder. So that's ideal. All right, so we're going to start at the top here. This is a little bit of housekeeping, not super fun, but definitely worth it, and you'll see why in just a little bit when we create a loop. So let's start at the top and we'll work our way down. So first and last name, let's make sure that is all correct and spelled correctly. I think that's a little important. All right, your email address here, Dotloop email address. This is one of those noteworthy moments. Please make sure to write down what your Dotloop email address is. If you have another agent that shares a form with you in Dotloop, they need to share it to this email address specifically. Very important, okay, so make sure to jot that down, what your Dotloop email address is. As we move down, you'll see your fax and your phone number. Right, so make sure that is correct here. And you can add a fax number if that's not already there. If you don't have a fax at your home office, a lot of times your market center will have a fax that you can put in there. Moving on down, we have our e-sign name and our e-sign initials. So that is how Dotloop will automatically sign your name when you go to sign, let's say, a listing agreement, for example. So if you do sign things with your middle initial, or let's say you go by Bill, but you need to sign legally by William, okay, this is where you would make that adjustment here. And again, you can do that for your e-sign name and your e-sign initials. Okay, now as we're working our way down, this company name, let's make sure it at least says Keller Williams Realty. Some areas will require your brokerage name as well. So you'll notice I do have Dash Ballantyne area in there. So if that is required, you can always check in with your broker in charge if that is required for your area. But in the very least, make sure you have Keller Williams Realty, and that will auto-populate on your forms. Same concept with job title here. I know that's different depending on the area that you're in. Okay, in the very least, you can always put salesperson or broker or realtor, depending on your area. Just a heads up, if you are typing in the word realtor, for compliance, realtor always has to be in all caps. So make sure anytime you write in the word realtor, that is in all caps. And also your NERDS ID. You guys have enough things to remember as new agents. All right, so if you enter in your NERDS ID right here, it'll populate it on the forms that require that information, so you have one less thing to remember at this time. So that's helpful. And as you're working on wrapping up this section here, I do just want to talk about your headshot on the top left. So it is really important to add your headshot to your Dotloop account. Your clients are going to be signing legal documents, and it makes them feel a lot better if they see a familiar face in their Dotloop account, letting them know what they're signing is legitimate, especially with all the spam going around. All right, so do make sure to add your headshot. You can do so by clicking on the red button. It would say something like upload photo. I just have one in there, so it doesn't say that. If you don't have your headshot right now, feel free to jot down how we got here, and we did so by clicking on your initials on the top right and clicking on my account here, and then you would add your photo here. Alternatively, if you would like to, when you get your headshot, or if you ever change your headshot in the future, feel free to email your headshot to our support email address. That's support@scottleroymarketing.com. There are about 6 different places that we update your headshot, so feel free to send that over to us, and we'll make that change for you, including Dotloop. Make your lives a little easier. Okay, and assuming we have all this down, let's go ahead and scroll to the very bottom of your screen where you'll find the address. Make sure that your country and time zone are correct there, and let's go ahead and put in our office address specifically. Okay, so not your home address. Make sure that's your office address. If you have no idea what your office address is, no worries. Feel free to Google it. Google tends to know all, so if you Google it, you can go ahead and add that in here. And as those of you are finishing this section up, let's just make sure to click Save on the bottom right. that red button there. Anytime you click save in Dotloop, you usually get this yellow bar at the top letting you know that the save was successful. Always makes me feel better. It's the worst when you do all this work and forget to save it. I know we've all been there. So again, make sure as you're wrapping this up, go ahead and click save on the very bottom. And as you're done with that, let's scroll back to the top of our screen. So again, one more time, just make sure you click save on the very bottom. Scroll back to the top of your screen. And let's click on Profiles on the left side in red. This is the last little homekeeping piece that we'll do here before we get into the fun stuff. All right, so Profiles on the left side in red, the very top of your screen. And make sure your phone number and your fax number are in there as well at the top here. And my favorite piece to put in is your agent license number. Again, with all the things you have to remember, sometimes your license number is a long string of numbers and it's much easier to enter it in one time here in Dotloop. And Dotloop will put that onto every form that you bring into your loop here on out. Okay, so it'll save you time and save you a headache trying to remember that for now. All right, that does need to go in the agent license number specifically, so that's on the right side column. All right, the broker license number, if you're wondering about that, that is for your broker in charge. So for right now, let's just go ahead and fill out the agent license number specifically. And of course, guys, you can come back here at any time to fill out this information if you don't have that on hand. That is no problem at all. All right, the company association, this should have your market center name there if you see premium on the top left of your Dotloop account. So that's good. Again, that gives you access to all of your Dotloop forms. All right, and we do have to enter in our address one more time. So if you didn't know your office address before, well, you do not. You do now, so that's one silver lining, right? So company name, either go ahead and put in Keller Williams Realty, or you can put in dash your brokerage name there. And go ahead and just take one more second here and type in your office address, city, state, and zip. While this is not super fun right now, it will pay off time-wise in the future, and I'll show you exactly why and how that was beneficial in just a little bit when we create a loop. And as you're finishing that up, don't rush, right? Continue typing in your address there. I just want to talk about the notification settings at the bottom of your screen here. So the notification settings will tell you when you're notified of certain events, specifically email here. You'll see an email section. So Dotloop will email you if a document is shared or a document is signed by your clients, for example, or if your signature is required, and so forth. So typically I would recommend leaving them all checked at this time. If in the future you find you're receiving too many emails from Dotloop, you can always come back here and toggle these notification settings at any time. But for now, go ahead and leave them all checked. They're important things to be notified about. And let's go ahead and click save on the bottom right. So we're clicking save on the bottom right. You should see that yellow bar confirming the save was successful. And once we're all done clicking save on the bottom right, don't forget that. Let's scroll back up to the top of our screen. And let's go ahead and click the templates icon. So that's the icon that looks like two sheets of paper on the very top right of your screen. And this is where the coloring is a little different from the new Dotloop homepage. Right, it'll be the same icons up here, but just the color is slightly different. So you will click on the icon that looks like two sheets of paper on the top right of your Dotloop home screen, or your Dotloop account there. Now, as I mentioned earlier, you can simply print out blank documents from your Dotloop account and bring it onto your appointment with you, so you can go over the listing agreement, for example, with your clients, have them hand sign it, and you can sign it as well. So Dotloop can be used in several different capacities. If you're not a fan of technology or your clients don't trust electronic signatures, you'll run into that. I'm going to walk you through the steps on how you can simply print out a blank document to bring it with you on your appointment. So again, step one, we are clicking on this templates icon on the top right of your Dotloop account. That is the icon that looks like two sheets of paper. And when you do that, on the left-hand side, if you'd like to scroll down slightly, you'll start to see a bunch of red folders going down your screen in red on the left-hand side. Now your folders will be different than mine. Okay, these folders and forms are added by your office staff because they're awesome. However, depending on your market center, it will look different than mine. I'm in the Keller Williams Ballantyne area market center Dotloop account. All right, so don't be alarmed by that, but feel free to kind of skim the different folders that you have on the left-hand side. I'm going to show you in this example how to find a listing agreement and print that out. If you'd like to follow along with that, feel free to go ahead and select the folder on the left-hand side that would have a listing agreement. Okay, so we are selecting a form folder on the left-hand side to find the form that we need. Now, once you click on one of these form folders on the left-hand side, and you may need to scroll up slightly, but you'll see a search bar going across the top of your screen in red here. Now you'll want to click on the word search, and it'll turn that search bar black. And you can search by either the form number or the form name. So in this example, I'm going to search for a listing agreement. So I typed in the word listing, okay, and it'll bring up all the forms that have the word listing in their title. Now some of the form names are rather long, so if you're unsure that this is the correct form, you can either click on it to view that form, of course, or you can just simply hover your mouse over the form name and it will pop up this little black speech bubble letting you know what that full form name is. So once we find the form that we're looking for, all you'll do from here is come over to these three dots on the far right of the form name, and we'll click download. So once you do that, once you download it, it will pull it outside of the Dotloop system as a PDF. It'll pull it up on your computer, and you can simply print it from there. Okay, so this is again how you pull a form out of Dotloop to print it out. Let me go over that one more time. I do realize that's quite a few steps there. All right, so step one, if you're jotting this down, step one is we click on the templates icon on the top right of your Dotloop account. Step two, we're selecting a form folder on the left-hand side in red. So you'll simply just click on one of those. Step three, we'll click on the search bar at the top of that list, and we'll search for whatever form we're looking for. And then step four, we will click on these three drop-down dots on the far right to click download to pull that form outside of Dotloop, and so you can print that out and bring it onto your appointment. Okay, so you can absolutely just utilize Dotloop to print out the blank forms. In the Dotloop 201 class, I do talk about how to get those forms that you printed out back into your loop. So if you do use this avenue for your clients, feel free to check out Dotloop 201, and that will explain how to get those forms back into your loop if your office requires that for compliance. All right, so that is how we print out blank forms here. And again, we did all of that from this templates icon, the top right of your screen. So now let's go ahead and click the icon that gets us back to our Dotloop home screen. So again, that's that smiley face with no eyes icon, and that should bring us right back over to our Dotloop home screen, right, where we see the icons looking slightly different, but same concept there, just slightly different color. So again, we are clicking on the smiley face with no eyes on the top right of your Dotloop homepage. And that'll get you back home. Now, before I dive deeper in creating a new loop and talking about the Dotloop homepage navigation, let me tell you a little bit about what Dotloop is in general in case you're very new to Dotloop. So general concept of Dotloop is like your online filing cabinet. So you're going to have a loop per property that you sell. So for example, if you are representing a client who is selling their home with you and then buying the next home, that's going to be two different loops because it's two different properties or two different transactions. So it's not necessarily based on the client, it's based on the property. It's just how Dotloop works best, right? So that is a noteworthy moment. If you'd like to write that down, that'll help you in the future. Now on this Dotloop home screen here, just some small things I want to point out before we create a loop. A practice loop. You can search through your loops right here. Right, so you will see a search bar on the top of your screen that'll allow you to search for your loops quickly, and especially as you start to sell tons of homes and have tons of loops in here, it's best to be able to search for your loops to find that right away. Okay, so that is very helpful, that search bar there. So now to add a new loop, as you might have guessed, let's go ahead and click on this blue button on the top right of your screen that says Add Loop. If you've utilized Dotloop before, this is a slightly different process. So we're just clicking Add Loop on the top right, that big blue button there. All right, so right here, we'll need to put in the property address or MLS number. Okay, typically you'll want to put in the property address for your office to be able to find that quickly. Now I realize if you're representing a buyer, you won't know the property address right out the gate. No worries, I'll show you how you can easily change that once you start your loop. But go ahead and you can name this 123 practice loop or 123 Main Street, your home address, whatever you would like to be to name this. It's really, great to have a practice loop in here so you can practice things before you go on an appointment with your clients. All right, so I'm putting in a property address here. And I'll go ahead and click Continue on the bottom right. All right, and as I click Continue here, it'll bring me to the next stage, right? You'll notice it takes us through these 4 processes here. So template. As far as a template goes, some offices do not have templates set up. This is a loop template. These templates are super beneficial. What it would do is if you select one of these templates here, it will bring in all the initial forms that you need to get going on your loop, on your transaction rather. Now these templates are created by your office staff, so if you don't see these templates in here, there's nothing wrong with your account. Your office just doesn't utilize that, and that's totally fine. So feel free to go ahead and select one. I'm going to be working on a listing loop in today's class as an example, if you would like to select a listing template, if you have that available. But just to make sure we're all on the same page, I'm not going to select anything, and I'm just going to click Continue. All right, photo. This is a cool new addition they made. So a photo, you can add a photo of the house here, and I'll show you how easy this is and why this is beneficial. So clicking Upload a Photo here, it will browse your computer, and if you have a photo of, let's say, the home they're buying or the home they're selling, you can find that on your computer and double click on it to bring that in. It just shows this little sliver of the home here. There's no way to make it bigger or recenter it. It's not very customizable. However, as you can see, that took me maybe 20 seconds to do. And Dotloop says that if you take the time to add in a photo of the home that they're buying, they're 5 times more likely to use you again or refer you out because they feel like, wow, this agent created a personalized website for me to sign my forms. Pretty cool, right? And as you can see, it didn't take much time. Ideas on how to get photos. Of course, if you're the listing agent, you might get professional photos taken. You can use one of those. If it's a home they're buying, of course, they're very excited about that. You could grab a photo off the MLS of the home they're buying to put that in. So just some ideas on what photo to use. And let's go ahead and click Done on the bottom right here. Of course, you don't have to add a photo. That is just kind of an extra step. So I'm going to click Done. And it will tell you that it's working here and show you your new loop. So now to go into your loop to start working on it, we can simply click on this loop to go into that loop to get going, to add our forms. So simply click on that loop there to access your loop right away. Now, as you get into your loop, those of you that have utilized Dotloop in the past and are familiar with the older version of Dotloop, you will notice that it all looks the same here, right? So it's just a Dotloop homepage that is changing the coloring and the design. However, anytime you click on anything from that Dotloop home screen, it always brings you back to what you're familiar with. So helps you breathe a little bit, knowing you don't have to learn a whole new system. Now, as you're in here, let's take a look around our new loop. Right, and as I say loop, as you'll start to figure out, a loop is like an online file. So anytime you hear me say loop, is your file for that property. And there are three main sections of your loop. The top one is this document section. This is where you'll be spending most of your time within Dotloop. It's where you'll be adding your forms to your loop, where you'll be getting them electronically signed, sending them to your clients, and so forth. Okay? We'll be focusing on this section quite a bit in today's class. As you scroll down, let's take a look at this people section here. This people section will show you anyone that is involved in this transaction, anyone that's in this loop. You should always see your admin for your market center in the loop so they can do compliance on your loop. And you should always see yourself in there as well. And there again, you can see your Dotloop email address, which is super important for you guys to know what that is. And lastly, we do have a task section on the very bottom of your loop. As I mentioned earlier, you can create to-do lists for yourself in the system. As things like, let's say if it's a listing, there's a million things you have to do to get a listing ready to go live, such as put the lockbox out, put it in the MLS, get photos taken, have it professionally measured. The list goes on. And you can create a task list on the bottom of your screen to help keep yourself on track for that listing. It's a pretty cool feature there. And for now, though, let's go ahead and scroll up to the very top of your screen where you'll see View Details right under the loop name, in this case, the property address. You'll see View Details in red at the very top of your screen, and let's go ahead and click on that. Now, this is one of those moments that if you don't do this, I'll lose you for a little bit in class. So if possible, to just scroll up to the top of your screen and click View Details right under the property address. That'll get us all on the same page. And of course, guys, if I lose anyone, feel free to let me know. Feel free to ask any questions, and I'm happy to help you up. All right, so we're going to click on View Details here. And that'll take you into the back end of the loop. Now, before we get started here, I just want to explain what this does and why this is an exciting section. All right, as you scroll down and explore this section, you will see a lot of information that you can enter in about the property. Now, any information that you enter in this back end here will auto-populate onto every single form that you bring into your loop. So it's a huge time saver, for example, putting in the property address here. So it puts on every single form that you bring into your loop. And I'll be talking about this in depth in just a moment here and why this is such a great section. But for now, let's go ahead and scroll to the top of your screen and answer this first question here that says transaction type. All right, so you can simply click on select transaction type. And you can select if this is a purchase, a listing for sale, so forth. Okay, and in this example in today's class, I'm going to do a listing for sale. So if you'd like to follow along with me, feel free to go ahead and select listing for sale. Now, once you select the purchase or the transaction type, it will then give you the option to select the loop status. So you have to do this drop down before you can do the second one. But now it does give us the option to select the loop status. So I'll go ahead and click there, and you can select which status it is. Now, these statuses are really helpful for organizing your Dotloop home screen as well, and I go over that at the beginning of the Dotloop 201 class if you'd like to take a look at that. So in today's class, we're going to select you can select that it's a pre-listing or active listing. But in organizing your Dotloop homepage, just a heads up, selecting sold or archived, there's no deleting anything in the system, so you can't delete a loop, you can't delete a form. So if you ever lose anything, it's there. But you can't archive it. So the archiving it will hide it from your screen to help you organize it. So just a heads up on that, on archiving. I know that was just a brief synopsis on that. But let's go ahead and select active listing from this dropdown. Now, I did mention while we were creating our loop that, of course, if you're representing the buyer, you won't know the property address out the gate. No worries, you can always change your loop name super easily right here. So if you had it as the client's name, you can add the property address. I can even go ahead and add my client's name as well to the side of that property address. And once I click save, it updates it right away. So super easy to change your loop name. All right, the people section. So in this people section, this is where you'll add your clients to the loop. And it's important that you do that near the beginning of creating your loop. And what you want to do, as you might have guessed, is go ahead and click Add Person on the top right in red. So So we're clicking Add Person on the top right in red here. And it'll pull up this box that prompts you to add the person's information. So now you will need three main things. That's full name, email address, and the role. So go ahead and put in your client's full name. Now, if you want to put in your favorite movie star, your favorite TV character, or you can put in John Smith if you're not feeling particularly creative today. All right, so let's just go ahead and have a practice client added here. And for the email address, if you would like to go ahead and put in a personal email address that you have, so that's an email address that's not associated with your Dotloop account, I would recommend it because then you can see what it looks like when you share a document to that address, and you can see what your clients see when they're going to sign a document. It does make it super easy for your clients to be able to electronically sign. And then role. The role is very important. I can't stress it enough. The role does enable your clients to be able to electronically sign. If they don't have a role, they can't electronically sign. So in this role, if you want to select where it says role in red, go ahead and click there. You'll see a whole bunch of roles that you can pick from. There's even a gray scroll bar here that you can click on to view even more roles that are available. Typically, you'll use the ones near the top here. In this case, I'm going to select seller, as we're working on a listing loop in this example. So feel free to go ahead and select seller. And when I do so, it does prompt a bunch of other information that you can put in. However, this information is not required, but will populate onto the form if the form requires any of this additional information. Now, before we go further, I do want to talk about this Add to My Team feature. If you are taking notes, this is one of those noteworthy moments. Please jot down to never ever click Add to My Team if you are adding a client to the loop. All right, clicking Add to My Team would make it so that your client can see everything in your loop that you can see. And you, of course, don't want that. So the general concept of Dotloop is everything in your loop is private until you choose to share it with that contact. All right, so you generally don't want your client to see everything in your loop. You just want them to see what you choose to share with them. So times that this is beneficial, though. It is a really cool feature. So let me talk about times you would use this Add to My Team feature. Okay, but again, before I go further, make sure we never click this Add to My Team feature if you are adding your client to the loop. So times that you would use this. So if you are co-listing a property with another agent in your office. So if you are on the same side of a transaction with another agent in your office, you can click Add to My Team when you're adding that agent to your loop. And it would add this loop to that other agent's Dotloop account as well, so you guys can collaborate and do everything in the loop together. That other agent would have all the same rights that you have in your loop, so you can work on it together. So pretty cool feature. Another time that you can utilize that, if you are on a real estate team and you have a team admin, you can add your team admin to every loop and click Add to My Team, and so your team admin can handle a lot of the work for you. If you have any questions on that, feel free to let us know. I do have a video on that specifically that I can always send over to you. So let us know if you need that. If you would like that video on the Add to My Team feature, you can email us at support@scottleroymarketing.com. And you can put attention to my name, which is Leah, L-E-A-H, and I'd be happy to send that over to you. All right, so for now, let's go ahead and click on Add Person on the bottom right to add this person to your loop right away. Okay, you'll see that's been added in. Now, if your client had a spouse, you would, of course, click Add Person and go through that process one more time. Now, in this People section here, you will need to do one more thing. Under your name, you'll see right now this is the role, and you'll see it says None. So let's go ahead and click on that and change your role to Listing Agent. So again, you need a role to be able to electronically sign. So roles are very important. So let's go ahead and select Listing Agent. And let's go ahead and scroll down to this other information. Now, I did mention just a moment ago that if you enter in any information here, we'll auto-populate it onto every form that you bring into your loop. Now, this is especially helpful for new agents, and you're looking at these forms that you fill out. And, I mean, these pages, they're like 10 pages long, some of them. And it's overwhelming at the beginning to know where the information goes on those forms. So instead, you can always come into this auto-populating section, this View Details section, enter in the information that it prompts you for, and Dotloop knows where on the form to put that information. Even if you know the forms relatively well, entering it in here is a huge time saver, so you don't have to hunt through pages to know where that goes. So just so you can see what it looks like when a form auto-populates, let's go ahead and just put in some property address information here. So if you want to go ahead and put in the street number, street name, now let's just put in a little information here just so you can see what it looks like on your end when that does auto-populate. And as you're finishing up putting in that property address, feel free to scroll around, scroll on down to see all the awesome information you can enter in here, the financial information, contract dates, offer dates, and so forth. There's a bunch of information that you can enter in here. Again, huge time saver as it auto-populates onto every form. So for now, let's go ahead and scroll to the very top of your screen and click Save. On the top right, it's on a red bar. Make sure you click Save there. It will give you the yellow bar at the top letting you know the save was successful. So again, let's scroll up to the top of our screen and click Save on the top right on this red toolbar. Once we do that, let's go ahead and click Back to Loop on the top left. So I'll say Back to Loop on the top left of your screen right above the loop name, in this case the property address. And that will take you back to your loop. All right, so let's get into the fun stuff of adding documents into your loop. So as you might have guessed, we'll start in this Documents section at the top of your screen. And you should already at least have one folder in there. If you selected a loop template, you might have multiple folders with some forms in there already, and that's great. If you are already looking at these three blue boxes, that is how you add forms to your loop. However, if you are not, if you don't see these blue boxes appearing on your screen quite yet, no worries. Just go ahead and click Add Document to the far right of any of your folder names, and it will make these three blue boxes pop up. So in today's class, we'll be focusing on the first blue box, that template section. Okay, in the Dotloop 201 video, I do go over the second two as well. So if you're interested in that, again, that is on slmtraining.com if you'd like to check out the Dotloop 201 video after today's class. So just to draw this full circle for you guys, you'll notice this templates icon, right? It looks like two little sheets of paper. That's the same exact icon as this icon on the top black toolbar, right? And that's where we started class, looking at how to print blank forms. So just to pull this full circle, same icon, same section, but let's go ahead and click it in the first blue box there to pull those templates up right away. And again, I just clicked on that first blue box to pull up my templates. And this should look very familiar to you because on the left-hand side, you will notice those red form folders we were looking at near the beginning of class, along with this gray little scroll bar that we see in the left-hand column. Okay, so you can always click on that gray little scroll bar on the left-hand column to scroll down. I'm going to be bringing in a listing agreement. If you'd like to follow along, feel free to click on the form folder that you think would have a listing agreement in it. Once I click on that form folder on the left side in red, it will turn it black, letting you know that that's the one selected. And I can come up to this red search bar here to click on where it says search. It'll turn the search bar black so I can type in the word listing. Okay, so I'm trying to find the listing agreement here. Of course, there is a scroll bar on the right-hand side too that you can scroll through to find the form you're looking for. And again, as I mentioned, you can always hover your mouse over the form name to get the full form name to make sure you're getting the right one. Now let's go ahead and click on the checkbox to the left of whatever form you'd like to bring into your loop. So I'm clicking that checkbox to the left of whatever form name. And let's go ahead and click Copy on the bottom right. So again, I clicked on the red Copy button on the bottom right, if anyone missed that, to copy that into my loop. And then you can click OK. It gives you a confirmation that one of them was imported, and we'll click OK to come back to our loop here. And you'll see that voila, we successfully pulled a form into our loop. So now to start editing that form, it's as simple as clicking on that form to pull it open right away. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and click on that form name to start editing it right away. Now, whenever you click on the form to pull that up, you will see an autofill box pop up. And this autofill box is very important. Please make sure to never click this X to X out of it. This is our friend. We like the autofill box, saves us lots of time. And the most important thing about this autofill box is that you should see your seller's name in line with seller 1. Okay, so that should be your client's name here. They will not be able to electronically sign if you do not see your client's name. So I can't stress it enough how important that is. If in any case you don't see your client's name there, or let's say you didn't know that your client had a spouse, you can always click Select Person next to Seller 2, for example, either one. Select Person, and you can either select your client from that list or click Add Person straight from here, and I could add the client's spouse from here so they can electronically sign. So the idea is if you don't see them in this upper box, they won't be able to electronically sign. And for listing agent, you should see yourself as well so that you can electronically sign. All right, so as I scroll down, this is all of the information that will autofill onto this form. This property address information should already be in there because we did that in the View Details section when we first created our loop. So look at that, already saving us time. And as you scroll down, again, if this is a listing agreement, you would probably see listing agent information here as well. And all of this is auto-populating because we started class in the My Account section, entering in your personal information. So again, saving us time. So that's pretty helpful. And as we scroll down, of course, you can fill in all this information as you would like to, and Dotloop will know where to put it on the form. And let's go ahead and click Autofill on the bottom right in red. So we're scrolling to the very bottom of that autofill box and clicking that red button that says autofill. All right, and then you will notice that a bunch of the fields will turn yellow. Any yellow fields, that's the universal sign for it being autofilled, so that lets you know which fields were autofilled. You'll also see a black box display letting you know that 2 roles have been assigned and 13 fields have been autofilled. Again, the roles, we like that because they will be able to electronically sign if roles have been assigned. So let's talk about editing these forms. Now, it's as easy as clicking on any of these text boxes and starting to type. So I think you'll really like it. So if you click on, let's say, any of the fields, you can pick one. So I'm going to click on the top field and start typing in. Oops. Right, so you can add in any information by simply clicking and typing. Right, any checkboxes that you might see, if you want to scroll around and find a checkbox, the checkbox is as easy as clicking to check it off. And the date field, so if you're trying to edit the expiration date, let's say, you might see a little calendar icon in any date fields, and as you click on that, a little calendar will appear so that you can simply click on that date. You can use the arrows on the top of this calendar here to scroll over quickly and select any date on here. Right, so that is how easy it is to start editing your forms. Now, just a quick note, I did mention on that autofill box, we don't ever want to X out of it. We like that autofill box. If you were to ever accidentally X out of it or notice your clients weren't able to electronically sign, you can always get that autofill box back by just clicking autofill on the top black toolbar. So just a heads up on that, just a quick side note. So that'll bring that right back up, the autofill box. Again, I just clicked on that on the top black toolbar there. All right, so let's use our imagination and pretend that you already went through and you filled out the entire form. Okay, and you will need to make sure you fill out the entire form before sending it to your clients to be able to electronically sign. If you make a change to the form after your client electronically signs, it will erase all of their signatures because it thinks they didn't sign for that. So it makes sense. It's just a pain. So make sure you do fill out the entire form first and then send it to your clients to electronically sign. So let's talk about electronic signatures and initial boxes. So if you would like to, go ahead and scroll down on your form to a place that does require initials or signatures, essentially the same concept. So you'll notice on my screen here, I do have the seller initials, and I do have my client's initials in there. Now just a heads up, if I printed out this form, it would be blank, this box here. These initials here in print indicate to me that I set it up correctly, that my client will be able to electronically sign. If it just says seller in both of these boxes here, your client will not be able to electronically sign. It is very important that you see your client's initials in print here for them to be able to electronically sign. Let's say one time you do look at this and uh-oh, it does say seller in both. I don't see my client's initials. What do you do to fix it? All right, no problem at all. You can always just click on this autofill box at the top of on the top black toolbar there. It'll bring the autofill box back up. You'll just make sure you have your client in as seller 1 and seller 2, for example. So that rolls on the very top of that box. All right, so let's take a look at what it looks like when it's actually electronically signed versus when it's just set up correctly. So if you are working on a listing agreement with me, you may have to sign the form as the agent. So you might see a reddish-orangish box here where you would want to sign. And you can simply click on that box where you need to sign and click Sign Now. Right? It'll pop up this little speech bubble that says Sign Now. And when I do that, the first time and the first time only I or your clients go to electronically sign something, Dotloop does check in to make sure that the electronic signature is correct. So this is really great for your clients. So when they go to electronically sign for the first time, it will pop up this box so that if you misspelled their name or they want to sign with their legal name or add their initial, their middle initial, they absolutely can on here. So cross-check all looks good, but they could definitely change this up here. They can also draw their signature. I don't really recommend that if you're on a computer. It kind of looks like a 5-year-old drew the signature. But if you're on a tablet or a phone, you can absolutely draw your signature as well. So if all looks good, I'm going to go ahead and click Adopt and Sign. And now you'll see my initials are in there with a time and date stamp. And you'll see it's a big difference between when it just shows me that I set it up correctly for my clients to sign versus when it's actually electronically signed. So as I scroll down, I'm just going to scroll down to go to the next initial box so you can see how easy it is from here. So here on out, you would just simply hover on the next initial box you need to sign, click Sign Now, and it pops it in. And I do want to just show you quickly what it looks like for a signature box. It is the same exact concept, but I just want to make sure you guys see it and feel comfortable with it. So if you'd like to scroll to somewhere on your form that does require a signature, feel free, or of course you can just watch on my screen. You will notice anywhere your client needs to sign. I know I set this up correctly because it says Tony sign here, so I know that's correct. Right, again, we don't want it to say seller sign here, we want the client's name sign here. And you will see where it has the listing agent sign, right? And if it requires your license number and you put that in the My Account section, all this information should autofill for you, saving some time. And for the signature, I can simply hover my mouse over that, click Sign Now, and it'll pop in that signature right away. And so it's pretty easy to go ahead and sign. Now, before we go ahead and share this form to our clients to sign, I just want to point out a couple things on this black toolbar that can benefit you. So if you hover your mouse over File, for example, on the top black toolbar, you can absolutely print the form from here. So if you wanted to type up the form because you feel like it looks more professional, you can absolutely just type it up, print it out, and bring it on your appointment so that you can explain the form and have them hand sign it. Okay, so that's absolutely an option, typing up the form like we did today and print that out. You just do that on the File tab here. Okay. So let's go ahead and pretend, right, because I mean, in theory, the general concept of Dotloop, the easiest way to use it is you type up the entire form and you send it to your clients via email so they can electronically sign it. Right, so to do that from here, after we've gone and filled out the entire form first, We would click Save and Share on the very top right, that red button there. Okay, so that was on the top right, Save and Share. And it'll bring up the share screen here. Now, moving on down the screen, just to explain this is a really important aspect of Dotloop. So the Documents section here, this will show you which form you are sharing just to make sure you're meaning to share that form. It shows you who has access currently, so you'll always see your name and your admin in here on who has access. But if you can't remember if you had shared this form to your client in the past, their name would be on this list if you had. And now adding people. So in this section here, I'll see that my client is checked. I can see that my client has the role of seller and 11 fields are assigned to that client. So that they can sign 11 fields. That's good. We want to see that. So let's take a look at these options here on the right-hand side. So you'll see it says can sign, and that is the option that is used really 8-9 times out of 10. Most commonly, you'll share it as can sign. All right, so I'm just going to explain what each one of these does here. Can sign, it means just that. All your client is able to do is simply sign the form. They cannot edit the form. They cannot change anything on the form, which is good because you're the real estate professional. You know what goes into the form. You don't want them to be able to change things like, oh, I don't know, your commission, right? So we usually only want to share it as can sign for your clients. But let's take a look at the others and scenarios of when you would want to share it in a different way. And this is kind of a lot of information, guys. I apologize about that. But if you hover your mouse over any one of these options, you'll notice a little black speech bubble that will tell you basically what I'm saying. So you don't really have to remember this. So view only, a time that you'll want to share that. So that is only sharing it, so they can't sign it, they can't fill it out, they can simply only view that. A good time to use view only if you have an executed contract and need to share that to the mortgage provider. This is a great way to do it. You can add your mortgage provider's name in here and share it as view only. Also, if it's a younger couple and they want their parents to review the forms they're signing, you can add in the mom and dad's information here and share it as view only. Just some ideas. Can fill and sign. This is an important one. So this is typically used for residential property disclosures. So any disclosures that your clients need to actually fill out. So on property disclosures, for example, you would need your client to fill out things that they would only know, like age of the HVAC, age of the roof, and so forth. So can fill and sign is great for property disclosures. And lastly, can edit in private. So that is great for sharing it to the broker on the other side. So if you share it as can edit in private, let's say an offer, you submit an offer to the listing agent as can edit in private, what it will allow that listing agent to do is to make edits to that offer. Okay, now as I say that, don't be alarmed. As they make edits to that offer, it will erase your client's signatures because, right, they didn't sign for those changes, and it will create a counteroffer. It'll create a whole new document so that that listing agent can always change the information to counter, have her client sign it, and send it back to you. So again, this is mostly really only used in a situation where you're sharing it to the broker on the other side of the transaction. And again, guys, I do have notes that go over exactly what I just said. If you would like the notes for today's class, please feel free to email me at support@scottleroymarketing.com. Again, you can put attention my name, which is Leah, L-E-A-H, and I'd be more than happy to send that on over to you. All right, but for now, we're going to go ahead and leave it as can sign, because, right, as I mentioned, that is the most popularly used one. And you can simply click share. It'll confirm with you that the document has been shared and it's waiting on others. And guys, if you did utilize a personal email address when adding this fake client to your loop, feel free to go check out what it looks like when you receive that to that personal email address. You'll see what it looks like from a client view and how easy it is to have for your client to go through and electronically sign it. It literally just takes them down the form to each signature so they can click to electronically sign. So pretty cool. For now, though, let's go ahead and click done. I do just have one more thing to go over with you guys, and then I will let you go enjoy your Friday Eve here. So for now, if you wouldn't mind, let's go ahead and click on this little arrow on the top left of your screen. It's kind of hard to see. It's red on a black background here on this black toolbar. But you'll see that back arrow on the top left next to the form name to get back to your loop. It might ask you if you want to save it or share it as well if you see those pop-ups. Now, as I get back to my loop here, the one last thing I want to leave you guys with is how to submit for a review. So submitting for a review, when you would want to do that. Now, as you can see, your admin is in every loop, right? We see them in the people section. However, they typically don't look at your loops unless you submit it for review, because there's so many loops for your market center. So submitting them for review means it is time for them to loop at your loop. And check in with your office staff on their policy on how frequently they want you to submit for review. Typically, generally the policy is, if it's your listing, you'll want to submit for review 3 times. Once when the listing goes live on the MLS, a second time when it goes under contract, and then a third time when it closes. And you can click submit for review on the top right there, and we'll go over that in just a moment here. If you're representing the buyer, though, you'll submit for review typically twice. That is once when it goes under contract with all the contract documents, and once when it closes with all the closing documents. All right, so that's when and how frequently you would submit for review. And now how to submit for review, it's as simple as clicking on submit for review on the very top right of your screen in red. And don't do this right now, by the way. Your office staff won't be happy with me if they get a bunch of loops into them right now. But you would click submit for review on the top right. It'll bring up this little box here. If you had multiple folders in here, you can select which folder is ready to be reviewed. You can simply click the select type on the top right here to select if this is for buying or listing. And then you can even give them a little note about why you're submitting for review. So if you're adding a form that you were missing to your loop, you can write that in here or so forth. And you would click submit on the bottom right. But again, don't do that unless you're really ready to submit for review. And the only other thing I want to show you guys is how to submit a green sheet. Now, if you've never heard of a green sheet is telling your office how you want to get paid. Green money, yeah, that's the idea. So for example, if you are splitting a transaction with another agent in your office, or if you have an outside referral that you need to tell your office about. So typically you want to submit your green sheet when your property goes under contract. Now again, check in with your office staff on their policy. Each office has slightly different policies. That is just in general when you would submit that. So to access your green sheet from Dotloop, what you would do is click on View Details on the top of your screen under the property address. It's kind of where we started our loop, so hopefully we're familiar with this now. So I'm clicking View Details in red under the property address. From here, you'll see Submit to Green Sheet on the very top right. Okay. Now you will have to have your pop-up blocker off in order to click here. So if you click there and you see a little icon show up here with an X through it, kind of looks like a window with an X, click on it and say always allow pop-ups from Dotloop. All right, but that is how you would submit to Green Sheet from your loop. And what it will do is it will auto-populate all the information from inside your loop in here onto your Green Sheet. So it saves you a little bit of time. Okay, so that is how you would submit for review. All right, so hopefully you guys feel a little more comfortable on how to navigate around Dotloop, how to print out blank forms, create a loop, even type up your forms and send that to your client to electronically sign. The Dotloop 201 video is on slmtraining.com, so feel free to check that out after today's class. And if you have any questions at all, please do not hesitate to email us at support@scottleroymarketing.com. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions you may have. I hope this was a helpful class, and let me know if you have any questions. Have a great day, guys.